We are encountering a very interesting week here on Gran Turismo 7. It's the first ever week that both daily races B and C have tuning. Now, this has been very polarizing. I've seen stuff in my stream chat. I've seen things on Twitter and on other social media sites. It's really divided people. And I think this has been, or it's time to have a chat about it. I think it's a good opportunity to do so. So I thought I'd sit down, just turn on the camera and just chat. I've got some notes down there if you see me looking down there, just to make sure that I cover everything that I want to say. But I want to kind of go through the positives, what my concerns are about it, and really just what my honest opinion is of tuning on Gran Turismo 7 and the fact it's here, and it looks like it's here to stay. So let's just jump straight into it. And as always, I want to start with the positives on the situation. Now, we're all playing Gran Turismo 7 because we love cars, we love racing, and this gives us an opportunity, or those who want to have an opportunity, to really get into the nitty gritty. It allows you to tune cars, pretty much every detail of the car. I know it's limited, but pretty much every detail. And you can make, well, any car really as good as it can be. And that can be, you know, a car that you use regularly, or a car that we haven't seen that is a favourite of yours, like the old Nissan or BMW Z4 or something along those lines. You know, you can bring these older, less used cars that have been almost forgotten by BOP and various iterations of the BOP, balance of power. You can bring them back to life. And some people love that kind of process, which is, you know, absolutely fine. But my concerns and issues with it is, or slight confusion around it, is Gran Turismo is very much a plug and play game. It's a game at the end of the day. You don't need anything special. You don't need a big PC. You don't need the wheel, the rig, all this sort of stuff. You don't need it. All you need is one of these. All you need is a controller to get going. Now, some people like me don't understand tuning. You know, we don't really have an appetite for tuning, to know all the details. We love cars, but, you know, not the mechanical side and how an engine, you know, works and what part makes up the suspension, you know, what changes does that, you know, that sort of stuff. But also, more importantly, I think a lot of people don't have the time to construct a good tune or a good setup. Now, obviously, I'm in a very unique position. I do this for a job, so I could do it if I didn't have all of you guys. But some people are playing it, you know, an hour after work, or when they can on the weekends, or, you know, when they're not looking after their kids, when they get a spare half an hour to jump onto a daily race or something like that. And I think this really puts up almost a barrier for those people, and they don't have the time to, you know, test something. Say, oh, that doesn't work. Change it for a few laps. See if that works. Oh, that does work. Move on to the next thing. Oh, that didn't work. Move it back. Do it again. They don't have time for the process that I mentioned earlier that people really love to do. And I think probably the biggest concern I have is that with the way that it's set up this week, people have to do it. You know, Daily Race B is Group 4, where you have to have a setup. Or you don't have to, but if you want to be competitive, you need a setup. Daily Race C, you definitely need to have a setup if you're going to be competitive. But if you don't fancy either of those, you've got Daily Race A, which are the karts at Brands Hatch. So really, if you want to go racing in a racing car, you're going to have, and you want to be competitive, you're going to have to find yourself somehow a good setup. Now, now that we've kind of been forced into it, there's a couple of other things that come into play. And I think quality of life, I think that's the phrase, quality of life issues, things that make things easier to do this thing we're now forced to do. So if someone sets up or has a good setup, you have to put it on every single time. You can't just save it as a page or save it as a setup or put it on in your garage and it always stays on or anything like that. You have to input all the values every time that you start a race. And if you just jump into a lobby and the race is just about to start and you don't do it pre-lobby in either the time trial session or just waiting around, you're pretty time pressured to get that done. I've been there many a time where I'm quickly running down trying to make sure that we've got all the settings right. So yeah, it would be really nice if we're being forced to do this, to make it a little bit easier and we have that quality of life update just to as I say, make it a little bit easier. And for those who, like me, either don't know or haven't taken the time to learn how to do tuning to the level that you need to compete at the top level, or have the time to do so, it'd be great if we could share them like liveries. You know, if I don't have the artistic skill or the creativity at all to make a good livery, but I know I can go and search one. And I think that kind of premise, that kind of thing would work for setups, you know, like they do on, dare I say, other games that works quite well. If you want a decent setup, you could look one up. It's probably going to be quite polarizing and some people may not agree with that. But if you want to share it and you want to do that, then I think you should have the opportunity to do so. I think there'd be a big market for people looking for those as well. I think with the fact that some people, for the reasons I've mentioned, will have a tune or a setup and some people will not. That means that the gulf in cars and the car performance is even bigger than it has been before. You need a setup to be competitive, especially in the lobbies that, you know, I race in or you see me racing in. And I fear this, along with the whole time trial qualification kind of format, it just further takes away from the racing. For me, again, I'm not expecting everyone to agree. I'm just giving my honest view on it. I think with the time trial setup, it, you know, by Monday afternoon, if the new race is reset on a Monday, by Monday afternoon, you know, if so-and-so is in a race, you know they're going to be quicker than you. And it's almost like, it's not quite a procession, but I've said this many times before, the only time that there's really going to be a change is if somebody absolutely goes for it or there's a mistake. Both of which lead to somebody, you know, having a few problems. And putting setups, you know, putting cars kind of further apart with setups as well, yeah, that can really cause, you know, issues, I think, for me, with how many times that you're going to see a pass in a race. And again, just takes everything away from the racing. And we've seen this in other games that I've even played on this channel. So that kind of clears everything up from the positives and my concerns. Now, I want to finish with my actual kind of view on this. Excuse me, I'm not very well. Now, this is clearly on the agenda. If you cast your mind back to one of the first daily races that we had, I remember I made a video on it, there was tuning and nobody had any idea what to do. And if this is going to be pushed, you know, it died out and now it's coming back. We're seeing it more and more and more. And this is sort of like a landmark moment. This is why I'm talking about it, or feel the need to talk about it. Excuse me. If it's going to be pushed, there needs to be options for those who don't want to do it or can't do it for whatever reason, whether it's time constraint or they don't have an appetite to do it. There needs to be some sort of, this phrase is used elsewhere, fixed versus open series. If you want to do tunes, crack on. Or if you want to do setups, crack on. But there also needs to be bop, I think. There needs to be something where you can just rock up and play. There definitely needs to be options to save your setups and share your setups. Or this, well, just think about, put it out there. We've got circuit experience and menu books. If tuning is going to be pushed, or setups are going to be pushed, why don't we have menu books or some sort of, some sort of kind of lessons or training or whatever it is, some sort of license-esque thing that teaches you about what diff does, and you have to change it going around a certain corner, or anything like that. It would really be good to impart that knowledge in people in a way that they understand, so that the agenda that is being pushed, or the feature that's being pushed, can be easier or more easily adopted by those who play this game and have done for a long time. I'm slightly confused with the recent changes to BOP. Maybe it's just bad timing, but why, for me, is the question, why would you change the BOP if you're just going to give us tuning and kind of take the need for that BOP or relevance of that BOP away? And if I'm being completely honest, I personally prefer BOP for the reasons that I don't really have an appetite to learn how to do setups. I'm very lucky. I'm in a unique situation that I've got a lot of people who can literally just throw setups at me all the time. But I know not everybody has that, and I need to think about, or my view is formed by kind of everybody's view, not just mine, and I'm not sure it's fair to force anyone or everyone into it. It'd be a different conversation, or maybe we wouldn't be having the conversation if there was an option to not tune, but we don't have an option at the moment, and I struggle with that. Sorry, just had to cough there. I saved you from that. So in closing, what do you guys think about tuning? That's the question I want to ask you. What do you guys think of tuning? Or setups, or whichever way you want to call it. Tuning, setups, tuning to make a setup, whatever it is. Are you in favour of it, or are you not in favour of it on Gran Turismo 7? Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts and ideas on the entire subject, to be honest? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, make sure that you hit the like button if you like this video or this discussion. Please also make sure you're subscribed if you're new around here, or if you haven't already as well. And they were my honest thoughts on tuning setups on Gran Turismo. Interesting topic. I'm keen to hear your view. Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.